Used to be a hustler. I used to be a runner. Came from the gutter. Now we be on that struggle. Used to be in a life full of crime. I gotta hustle and do whatever it takes to survive up in the jungle. Talking rock bottom from the gutter. I used to get in trouble, but now I'm beyond the struggle.
Good evening, everybody. This is Mark with Beyond the Struggle again. I am here this evening with Sam. Sam, how we doing tonight?
Good in yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Hey, so I wanted to get together with you and do this interview, um, and I was hoping maybe you could take us back to when things were either good or bad for yourself, or however you like to start is okay with me.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, well, let me see. When I guess my drinking kind of will start about 17, 18 years old. Nothing too no, nothing too big, drank all the time, after work, whatever. But my drinking really caught up to me about 15 years ago. Um, I went through my first divorce, and after that, I just went into a big downward spiral. I was drinking nonstop, going to work drinking because I was working graveyards. So everyone on graveyards was an alcoholic. It was either you were hungover, you were drinking before you got to work, or you were drinking at work. So my alcohol really took control over me. Um, First marriage ended. From there, I was just at the bars all the time. Had a lot of hate or anger. So I would go to the bars. Best place to fight is at a Mexican bar. Get a bunch of Mexicans together, drinking. They're always down for fighting. So went to the always fighting in the bars, and that was my life for the moment for the first 3 4 years. Um, then I got married for my second time, and then right before my
did
son
you
was
have did
born.
you have any did you have any jail time in between, like
No,
from
no,
17 to the time you're talking about now?
no.
No,
I
just
never got in trouble.
no.
Not at
Just
the bar.
drinking too, no drugs?
No drugs. I
Okay.
smoked weed a little bit when I was a kid, but it wasn't.
Wasn't
I
his
didn't
thing.
like it because I couldn't control myself. I like to be in control
Right,
of what I do.
right, right.
And alcohol was I can control it. I knew how much I
At
could
least you
drink,
think so.
and supposedly I knew how to control it.
Yeah.
Um, I drank a lot, and when I got married the second time, my wife didn't really want a lot of drinking because with my new son coming, so I kind of went. I decided to stop drinking, and I went 9 years sober, no drinking at all. Um, by this time, my second marriage already ended. Had a bunch of girlfriends here and there. And I met my wife, my third wife, in 2014. I was working my second job, and she was a waitress, and I was a dishwasher, and I met her, and we just went from there. And the thing about it was, when I quit drinking, I had to find something else for my addiction. So at the time, I was a boxer. So I put all my time, all my energy, everything was into my boxing. So that was my new addiction, was my boxing. And then in 2014, in May of 2014, on Cinco de Mayo, they had the fight at the Civic Center, and I took a real bad knockout, and that was kind of it for me. It was a bad enough knockout where if I were to get hit like that again, it would probably do some real bad damage to me. So I started coaching. I had a kid that I was working with, and everything was good because that was my new addiction, was teaching him. And then after that was done, I didn't have nothing. to put my addiction to. So I was just out there just messing around, you know. Um, and finally,
How old were you at that time?
this was one, no, 31, 32,
Okay.
when I met my wife, my third wife,
So
and
yeah, you're on your third wife, one kid,
uh, fourth kid,
fourth kid.
yeah.
Okay.
And so I was going through a lot of shit at the time, and I was stressing a lot. I was went to therapy, was diagnosed with depression and all that, and it's just everything was coming down. Well, everything wasn't going right, and I had a talk with my wife one day, and I'm like, you know what, I want to drink. I'm like, I went enough time, I think, 9 years sober. I think I learned how to manage it. And she was like, I know the stories about you drinking because she never seen me drink before.
Right.
And she's like, what? I heard your stories about the way you drink. And she was like, I will promise you, I will not let you get out of control of your drinking. I drink 40, I drink about half of it. And then, I'm like, well, I went back to King Cobras. I'm like, okay. Started drinking that, and eventually 140 turned into 2, 3, and 4 in a day, and without it phasing me. Cool. And this was about March of 2000. I lost my job in March of 2020, and with my 401k1, with my savings and my taxes, I had enough money. I was all right for a little bit. Um, Around this time, I got onto coke. I was never into drugs. I never cared for it. It wasn't my thing. I was more of a drinker. Tried it one night. I'm like, okay, this wasn't too bad because it will sober me out. Instead of being drunk, it will lower me down. I could continue drinking. So it wasn't too bad. Okay, this ain't a bad drug. So me and my wife continued doing it. March, April, May. So about 3 months. And one weekend we bought 100 and we did it. And I'm like, fuck. When my wife would come down, it'll take a couple days to recover from it. And and me, all I do was drink, and it will counter my withdrawals. And so I'm like, well, you know what? Let's go get another one. Let's go get another 100. So we got another 100, and that night, me and my wife were talking, and it was just we had an in-depth conversation that night. Like, she understood what I did, why I do the things I did. I mean, it was like if the world would have ended right there, it would have been perfect because she understood me exactly why I did the things I do. And so we were up all night, and in the morning, the baby woke up because we were up all night. The baby woke up. I'm like, you know what? Go ahead and get some sleep, and I'll get up with the baby and the kids because we had all the kids there. And at this time, I was already on my sixth kid. So I had two with my third wife.
Okay.
And so I went upstairs, and she's like, you know what? Wake me up in about an hour. I'm like, all right. So I go upstairs with the kids, and me and my daughter were watching a show, and this show was over about an hour. And then like, well, let's watch another one. I'm like, okay. I'll give my wife an hour's sleep. And then the show was over, and then the kids wanted to go swimming outside. We had a little outdoor swimming pool. I'm like, all right, well, I'll just let her sleep a little bit longer, you know. And I took the kids outside for like 3 hours. Took her outside, all the kids outside swimming, and And we came in, it was starting to get cold, and my daughter was asking, she's like, hey, are you gonna wake up Samantha? Because that's when my wife's name was Samantha. Because we were supposed to go to the store and all that. I'm like, yeah, I'll go wake her up. And I go downstairs, and my wife was a real light sleeper. So even if I opened that door to the room, it creak and she would wake up. Went down there, she didn't wake up. I yelled at her, hey, wake up. Nothing. Went over to her leg and shook her leg and, hey, come on, wake up. And nothing. And I go and I go over to her on the bed, I roll over and she had blood running down her nose. I'm like, hey. And I start shaking her and I'm like, wake up. And I slapped her a couple times and she didn't wake up. So I ran to my mother-in-law, told her, hey, there's something wrong with Sam. And so she started doing CPR on her and I called 911. And where we lived out in Dacono, the paramedics, all that was in Longmont. So on a normal drive, it would be like 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, I guess 20 minutes from Longmont to Dacono. And so by the time we called 911, my mother-in-law couldn't do CPR on her no more. So she stayed on the phone with the paramedics and I did CPR on her. And I was doing CPR on her for 45 minutes. And during this whole time, I knew in the back of my head she was gone. And when the paramedics got there, they just looked at her and said, no, she's gone. And it broke me. And the paramedics came, the police came, and well, they found out it was from coke. And they found it. So the next day, full service showed up, took my kids away from me. They gave them to my mom. They gave her custody of the kids until I could get myself together. And that day when they came, full service came, they took kids. My oldest daughter showed up. And she was 20, 21, and all the kids were gone already. Full services already took them. And I was all started drinking. And my daughter was sitting outside with me. She's like, Dad, I'm worried about you. I'm like, why? I'm like, when my mom left you, when my first wife left me, she's like, you drank a lot. Really a lot. I'm like, this time, Sam died. And I'm worried about you. Like, you're going to get lost in drinking again. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be all right. Like, I can get through this. And she's like, all right. So she stayed up there with me for a couple hours and then she had to go back home. And I'm like, I have to get my life going. I'm like, so if I could give myself drinking enough that I could bring my grief to come, and then once I could get all my grief go through all my grief, then I could just move forward. So that was my plan. So that day after my daughter left, went to the liquor store, bought a couple bottles, fucking a case, everything, all stocked up. And I was just sitting there drinking all night. Had to put a bonfire outside and just drink all night. Fuck, it didn't happen. So I did it again next night. And I just kept on drinking. And when we did my wife's funeral, everyone, my wife's family came from out of state and they seen how bad I was. And the bet was between all of them was if I was going to show up drunk to the funeral. And that day of the funeral, like I drank, and we had the funeral in Denver. So I told them, I'll meet you guys up there. And I hit the liquor store before I left and I drank and going on to the funeral home. And we did my wife's funeral and my family showed up and they were like, well, we're going to go out to go eat. Come with us. I'm like, you know what? I'm not hungry. I just want to be left alone. I'm like, I'm going back to Morgan tonight because that's where all my kids were at, was in Fort Morgan. I'm like, I got a couple things to go do. Then I'll go get all my clothes, and then I'll be in Morgan. And so I just, after everyone left the funeral home, I was like, fuck, what am I going to do now? Picked up, find the nearest bar. And I went to this, it's like a grill, like a bar restaurant. Started drinking there and just sat there and thought about everything and sat there for a couple hours. And I'm like, you know what? I got to go. So I went back home to Dacono, got all my clothes ready because I was going to come back to Fort Morgan and spend some time out here because this is where my kids were. And I stayed at my daughter's house at the time. They let me stay there for a couple of days until I went back home because I was still trying to figure everything out. And then I just started drinking. That's all I do. From the time I woke up till the time I went to bed, just drank. And this went on for 3 months, constantly drinking. And then one night I was at the bar and I was kind of starting to fall out, pass out, because I was drinking all day. And a guy was like, I had some Coke, you want some? I'm like, no, I'm good. Because I was never going to do Coke again because that's what took my wife. About an hour later, I'm like, yeah, I'll take some. Because I knew that it would sober me up enough so I could keep on drinking. So I went to the bathroom, did a couple bumps, and I was good to go. Drank some more. And that was it for right there. I started doing Coke again. Because I needed to keep on drinking so I could get my grief to come. So I could get through my grief and just keep on going. Coke is expensive. And I hung out with a friend and I had a little bit of Coke left and she did meth. And she's like, well, my friend's coming over, we're going to smoke. I'm like, well, does he have Coke? And she's like, no, all he has is meth. I'm like, what's the difference between meth and Coke? They're about the same, but they have their differences. Because one thing I was never going to do was I was never going to smoke. Because I seen what it did to people. Smoking meth did. And I'm like, I'll just do lines. So I did start doing lines. And then with meth being the way it is, it tore my nose up bad. And what I was doing in my lines, if I could just smoke it, it would have lasted a lot longer. So I started doing hot rails and smoking it. And eventually I wasn't doing it just so I could bring my grief on. I was doing it because I didn't want to remember the pain of losing her. Because if I would bring my grief, that means I've dealt with it and that means I move on. So if I move on, I would forget about her. And I didn't want to forget about her. So if I kept on smoking and drinking, I wouldn't forget about her, I guess. So I kept on smoking and drinking. My kids found out about it. My older kids, my daughter was 21 at the time. My son was 19. They found out about it. And they knew I was doing it. And it was going to be about almost 9 months since my wife passed away. And my kids talked to me. It's like, you know what? You got to stop drinking and smoking because it is affecting you. You are changing. I'm like, it's not affecting me. Like, the reason why I'm changing is because my wife's, Samantha's funeral is, her 1 year is within 3-4 months. That's what's bothering me. The drugs ain't doing nothing to me or the alcohol. And they were like, yes, it is. And to me, I had control over it. I'm like, fine, I'll stop. But it ain't going to change my attitude. Because I know what's bothering me.
Right.
I'm like, so for the next 3 days, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be coming down. And it's going to hurt. So bear with me. And when I would sober up, Because I tried to sober up a couple times throughout in the year, but every time I would sober up, when I would dream, I would redream the whole day again, like her death.
Right.
So out of this time, but within a year, I had dreams almost every night of reliving her death. So when I start sobering up, the dreams start getting intense. I'm like, I can't deal with these dreams. And our neighbor, that I was living with my daughter, I was getting my dope from him. I text him. I'm like, hey, spot me spot me at 50. He's like, I can't. Kids came over here, told me I am not to give you any more dope. I'm like, your daughter was pissed because you smoke with me. I'm like, your son and your daughter's gonna be mad at me. I'm like, who are you more afraid of, my kids or me? He's like, don't let them know that I gave it to you. I won't. So I go and he went to the mailbox, dropped it off by my car, and I just went up and go out there, check the mail, picked it up, and I started doing my dope undercover. And and when I would go out to Morgan to do work, whatever, I would drink throughout the day, stop at a certain time of the day before I go home and stop smoking so I could go home so they could see that they don't smell no alcohol. I'm not smoking at home, you know. But with dope, there's things you don't want to go to sleep. You lose your appetite. So when I would go home, I would force myself to eat a lot. Okay, dad's not smoking because he's eating all the time. When everyone would have went to bed, I would stay up watching TV. I would go lay in my bed, playing on my phone. When I hear the door open, I put my phone down, pretending I'm sleeping. And this went on for like 3 months. And this girl I was messing around with at the time, and so she's like, oh, okay, good, you're doing good. So about 4 days before my wife's 1 year anniversary, I was working on a car. And I was looking for a computer for a car. So I called all these junkyards in Colorado trying to find a computer. And I got one to call me back. And it was in the junkyard in Diacono, where I lived at. And I tried to put these dates in my mind, and I didn't even think about that. I told them, you know what, I'll be there on Friday to pick it up. And that girl was like, you gonna pick it up Friday? I'm like, yeah. Because I didn't think what Friday was, because I dragged out my days. She's like, all right. Then like 20 minutes later, I'm like, fuck. I'm like, that's Samantha's 1 year. And she's like, well, call the junkyard and tell them you'll pick it up on Monday. I'm like, no, I'll go Friday because it's a sign. The only junkyard in Colorado was in the same town where I lived at.
Right.
I'm like, I have to go. And then I'll stop by my old house, outside, park outside in the street, just sit there, and just trying to remember that day. And so before we left to the junkyard on Friday, it was that my wife's 1 year anniversary. And I got high. I got high bad. And I had a beer. And then we went up to the Kono, to the junkyard. And she go, well, where do you want to go first? To the house or to the junkyard? I'm like, go to the junkyard first. And she's like, you want me to go with you? I'm like, no, just stay in the car. Like, I'm just going to go get the computer. It's easy to pull out and I'll be back. And the whole way going up to Dacono, which is 45 minutes away, my heart was beating. My anxiety was going through the roof. And so what I did was I went into the junkyard, found a big ass box truck, fucking loaded a bowl up, and just fucking got high as hell. Because I wasn't going to go to the house sober. And then I got high, got the computer, went, hit the liquor store, and bought a few shooters and some more beer. And I sat outside of the house. And just sat there by myself, just quiet and just thinking. And then this whole time, I was thinking to myself, if I would have woke her up in that 1 hour, like she wanted to, she would have been alive. Because with her death certificate, it said she died around the time I was supposed to wake her up in that 1 hour. She OD'd in an hour after I left the room. So in my mind, it was my fault. If I would have woke her up in that 1 hour, she would have been alive. So I had a lot of this guilt on myself, thinking this was my fault. And we sat at the house for about 15, 20 minutes. And I'm like, let's go. I'm done. And this girl, she was really, really religious. And she's like, when we got there, she got her Bible, opened it up, and she was reading. She's like, when I got here, I opened my Bible up, and there was this verse. Like, I read it to you. And it was about something about death, and I can't remember what the verse was. And I'm like, that doesn't solve the problem. Like, it's still my fault. She's like, Sam, okay, so she's like, just thinking about it this way. If you, let's say you woke her up in that 1 hour, like she wanted you to, and you would have caught her right at that moment if she was ODing. Okay, she's like, where is the ambulance out of? I'm like, it's in Longmont. Like, just a normal drive, 20, 30 minutes. She's like, do they stay there? I'm like, no, they call them in and then they get there. She's like, okay, so it's a 30-minute drive and then they have to get there. So add another 15 minutes to that.
Right.
So you call 911. As soon as you found out she was ODing, you call 911. They send out the notification to the EMS to get to the ambulance and drive to you. It's about 45 minutes, right? Yes. She's like, how long does it take a person? How long can a person go without oxygen to their brain? I'm like, 7 minutes. She's like, even if you would have woke her up in that 1 hour, she would have still been gone. And it made me understand it. Like, that's true. Even if I would have woke her up on time, she would have still been gone by the time they got there. So at that moment, that was a big relief off of my shoulders for the moment. Give it a little bit more time, I'll go back to that guilt. It's still my fault. I should have told her no, that we were going to do drugs. I knew better not to do drugs. You know, I should have woke her up. I should have did all these what ifs.
Right.
You know, and it started playing in my head again. And on the way home from there, that girl was like, you know what? I'm so proud of you. I'm like, for what? Being sober. Like, I told you. The kids told you. The drugs is what was changing you. Not, she didn't know, not even fucking hour ago, I was getting high as fuck in a big ass box truck. I'm like, don't say that you're proud of me. She's like, but I am. I'm like, quit saying that. She's like, why? She's like, you should be proud. Pull my pipe, because I didn't stop smoking. She looked at me with that look. She's like, but you did stop, right? She's like, no, I never stopped. I'm like, but your attitude changed. I'm like, it wasn't the drugs I had to suppress. I had to suppress all my feelings about my wife's death. I had to bury those feelings just to prove that the drugs was not affecting me. So the drugs had nothing with my attitude. It was, I had to suppress all my feelings. And she's like, I understand. And so she kept her mouth shut and didn't say nothing about to the kids or anyone that I was still smoking. And I ended up moving out of my daughter's house and I ended up moving in with her. And from there, I just started going more and more because my kids weren't there. They weren't there watching me. And I started going more and more and more. And that relationship fell apart, you know, and I got into another relationship. And same thing, just focusing on drinking and my drugs. This is who I was. You don't like the drugs or the alcohol, then you don't need to be with me. And every girl I was with accepted it. And that relationship fell through. And I was working. I started my own business about this time, working on houses. And I was working in Last Chance. And all I was doing was getting high out there. That's the whole purpose of going out there, was getting high. Because I didn't want to face my emotions or do nothing. And after that job got done, and started doing jobs around town, and it was like I was still smoking a lot. I got with my girlfriend, and this new one I had, Sarah, and she didn't like the drugs because her husband passed away, Carlos passed away, and he wasn't going to be with someone that was an active user because she already went through that bullshit. She didn't want to do that, go through that again. And we were together for about a year, 6 months to a year, and she broke up with me. And I was like trying to get back with her, but she was like, you have to stop because I'm not going to go through that again. I'm like, okay, I could do this. She's like, I trust you, but I don't trust you. So I'm going to give you UAs to show me that you are actually committing to our relationship. I'm like, okay. So I started getting sober. That lasted 3 days. As soon as I came down, fucking there I was going. I'm like, okay, dope stays in your system 3 days. So if I go see her on the weekend, Sunday, I come home, smoke Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, stop smoking Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I should pass a UA. And it worked. But those days were getting harder for me to stay sober.
Right.
So I'm like, fuck, how am I going to do this? Because I didn't want to lose her, but I wasn't going to stop. So I found a way to pass UA. Cool. Proved it. See, look, sober. But she had a feeling I still was, but she had no proof because the UA showed I was negative. Try these mouth swabs now. Mouth swabs are a little bit harder. Figured a way around that. And our relationship was kind of rough about that. And she still didn't like it. She understood why, but she was not okay with it at all. But she cared about me enough, she didn't want to lose me because she's seeing something in me. So she didn't approve of it, but I was still doing it. And so I would go and come up with $100. And okay, what I'll do is I'll buy $100, a quarter ounce of dope for $100, sell half of it. So I can make enough money so I could buy me another quarter ounce. And I could smoke the first bowl of it by myself and then sell the rest, make the money so I could re-up again. So where I didn't have to come on trying to borrow money or work for money, I had a way to make money to keep my addiction going with my alcohol. And it got bad. I lost my two older kids. My one son, my old son, he was 19 at the time, 19, 20. Stopped talking to me at all. Completely stopped talking to me. There was no relationship there. My daughter, she had two grandkids, and she was stopped talking to me. I'll text, hey, how's it going? Good. Hear from her 3-4 days later. Text her, hey, how's it going? 3-4 days later, she'll ask me, good. She didn't want that relationship with me. I lost my two kids. And my kids were everything to me. And I lost those two other kids, and my two younger ones, the ones that I had with my wife that passed away, they went to my mom's. And at first I seen them all the time, but then every time I looked at them, I seen their mom. And my son was 5 at the time, and he would go there and he would see me. Dad, what's wrong? Nothing, I'm good. But he knew something was wrong because every time I would see them, I would see their mom. So I would get jobs that was out of town to avoid me from seeing them. And all I thought about was me losing her. My daughter, her stepmother, my daughter from my first marriage was living with us when my wife passed away. She went through all this, and my two young kids did, especially my son, because my daughter was only a year when her mom died, so she didn't really know her. So my son lost his mom. My daughter lost her stepmom, and I didn't even think about what they were thinking about them losing her. All I thought about was what I lost. And I was smoking and drinking to die. Because the sooner I could die, sooner I could go home to her. That was my thing. And I was doing jobs, and one day I was doing gutters on a house. And I was on a 15-foot ladder, fucking measuring out the gutters, and the ladder kicked out from under me. And should have killed myself. There was a fucking ledge right there, and when I fell, I should have fell right on there, caught me by the neck, and that would have killed me. Luckily, I just busted my ass really hard on the fucking cement. A week later, 2 weeks later, we were going out to drop some dope off to somebody out there by Last Chance. On the way back, we missed our turn. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. On the way back, we missed our turn. So we're like, okay, we'll hit the next one, the next dirt road, and go back to the main road. Doing 50 down the thing, my friend was driving, and all you see was a sharp 90. Doing 50 down the dirt road. And so I'm like, we seen this. She goes and pulls this wheel, and it's a sharp 90. And I'm like thinking, and I felt my wife there. Like I felt her spirit. I'm thinking, it's time. She's here to take me home. So when she was trying to hit this turn, I just like let go. Instead of bracing up, I just let go. Like it's my time. It's my time to go. We made this fucking turn. Don't know how the fuck we made it, but we made this turn. My friend's sitting there crying to me she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. And the girl I was with in the back seat, she was crying, and I'm like, and I started crying. It's like, Sam, we're okay. We made it. I'm like, that's the point. That's why I'm crying. It's because I did make it. I felt Samantha here. It was my time to go. That's why I'm crying. A week after that, I was in Akron doing a roof. Fucking throwing shingles up on the roof. Fucking ladder kicked out from under me again. Fucking landed my back straight on the fucking ladder. Bent the ladder in half. Fucking shingles fell off on top of me. 3 times, almost died. I'm like, again, I felt her there. Like, why haven't I died yet? Everyone asked me, like, do you have a death wish? I'm like, no. But I'm not afraid to die. It's like, I don't want to die, but I'm ready for it. I was always afraid of death because I didn't know what was going to be on the other side. Now, I'm not afraid of death because I know what's waiting for me on the other side is my wife. And I would drive either drunk and high, coming down when I would take Sarah back off to Longmont. I was driving down the interstate, wondering why putting in my music, just driving away, wondering why all these cars are going slow. Realized I was doing 119 down the interstate. Thinking every bridge I passed, thinking if I could pull this car to the side crash, I get to go home. I could be with my wife. Never did it. Because I wasn't going to go out that way. I was going to do it to myself. Accidents happen. Okay, I'm okay with it. But I wasn't going to kill myself. So that was the way I was living. I was living, I was smoking and drinking to die. Finally, Sarah got me into going into therapy. Which for me, that shit doesn't work. I was really hard up against therapy. That don't work. That's bullshit. Got a therapist, and my therapist started working me with my issues. And she knew I was drinking and getting high. She knew I was showing up to fucking our appointments drinking. She knew I was high. Well, her thing was, let's work one step at a time. I had a lot of issues going on. Let's work with, you dealing with your wife, and then we'll break that off from there. And the topic came up of, maybe you should stop. Try to get your kids back. I'm like, I don't know about that just yet. Maybe you should go to rehab. And I'm like, sounds good. I would think about it. Just something I could just tell them to make them happy and just blow it off. Next appointment comes up. What about rehab? Well, I got all this work to do because I started my own business. I have all this work to do. I can't just stop in the middle of it. Okay, so I was getting myself caught up, and it was about to be a time. I'm like, how about let's revisit that rehab thing. And by this time, I have no more excuses. Try to put it off. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, but the thing about it is mine and my wife's wedding anniversary was coming up September 1st. I'm not going to be in rehab on our anniversary. So if I don't miss that deadline, because it was 28-day inpatient, if I don't make it, if I cannot be out by that day, then we're going to wait another month. After mine and wife's anniversary, then we'll talk about rehab. Just a way to push it off.
Right.
Somehow Sarah got everything worked out. I had 6 days before. If I would have went in that day, I would be in there. I would be out 6 days before our anniversary. So I had no reason. I couldn't come up with a reason to not go in. So I talked to my kids. I text all my kids. I was like, hey, my 3 older ones, come to the house. I didn't talk to you guys. My son didn't show up because he still wasn't talking to me. And told my kids, I'm going to rehab. As I'm sitting there drinking a beer. I'm going to rehab because of my drugs. Not my alcohol, but my drugs. And my daughter's like, I've heard that before. You said many times that you were going to straighten up, sober up, but you always went back on your word. My daughter had no faith in me. My old daughter. My youngest daughter, she's like, you could do it, Dad. Because she didn't know enough at the time. She knew enough what was going on, but she didn't really know what my oldest daughter knew.
Right.
And my oldest daughter didn't have no faith in me. Which I can't blame her because I never showed her I could do anything like that.
Yeah.
So the day of rehab had to be there at 4:00. And I was thinking, okay, last day. Hit the dope man up. Fucking got high as fuck that day. Drank all fucking day long. And it was time to go. Fucking I had my alcohol in the car, fucking drinking on the way up to rehab, thinking, if I could get my alcohol volume up enough that they won't take me, then they're going to have to wait 3-4 days, and then I'm not going to stop drinking. So maybe I could make it. Well, then they say, okay, we can take you up. but that 28, I won't be out in time for my wedding anniversary. So I had this whole thing fucking planned out to the T to avoid going. Hit Kersey, fucking hit the rest, did the rest of what I had in rest of the dope I had. Hit the liquor store again. Fucking drinking all the way there. I finished my alcohol in the parking lot of the rehab. Walked in and I was scared. That was the first time in my life I was scared. Because I don't like not knowing things. I walked in, I'm thinking, I have enough alcohol in my system, they won't take me. Did my breathalyzer. Oh, you're great, you're good to go. I'm like, fuck my life. And I went in. And the first 4 days was a nightmare. You know, 2 years ago, I ended up getting seizures. When it's a stress-induced seizure, so when my stress gets high enough, I will seizure. And when I went into rehab, they knew about my seizures, but they said we'll work around it. Well, when I was starting to detox, my dreams start coming around of my wife's the day she died, and the next day I wake up in the middle of the night. There's a big ass hole that I hit in the wall. And I hit it with my fist in the wall. Next day there was another hole in the wall where my knee, where I went, because when my wife died, I straddled her and I slapped her. So in my dream, I went to straddle her and my knee went through the wall again. And my seizures were getting worse in there. So this was supposed to be a 28-day rehab. I was in there 2 weeks and they had to kick me out because they were afraid that the process was too much for my seizures. And they kicked me out. I was afraid to leave. I was afraid to leave rehab because I didn't think I was going to make it out of Greeley without hitting a liquor store or hitting up the dope man. And so we went to go eat, and I'm like, I wanted a fucking margarita. I love that alcohol. Because I only went in for my fucking drugs, not the alcohol. But when I was in there in those 2 weeks, I realized I had a problem with alcohol too. So like, you know what? Give me a non-alcoholic beer. Tastes pretty good. Non-alcoholic. Okay, I can take that. Hit the liquor store in Greeley, bought a 6-pack of non-alcoholic beer. I'm like, it's better than regular beer. Because I love the taste of alcohol. And I was scared. And I had a friend that went to rehab maybe 2 months before I did. Tell me, Sam, let's go to AA. I don't want to go to AA. Because I don't want them looking bad, looking down on me. She's like, it's not like that. Just go. So I'm like, all right. So I went to the first time to AA when I got out. And I'm thinking everyone's going to like look at me funny and like give me looks. I walk in, hey, how you doing? I'm so and so. I'm like, this is odd. These people are happy to meet me. I mean, and they were talking, and I'm like, these people have problems like I do. They're not looking down on me for what all the shit I've been doing. Because these people are as fucked up as I am.
Yep.
There's not someone sitting there who doesn't know about addiction sitting there telling me, oh, you're doing this wrong. Everyone in this group has a problem with addiction. And I'm like, I felt comfortable being there then. And I was going through AA, and I was going to do an NA and AA. AA, they have it more. They have AA.
good. Yep. Right. Yeah. Let's go, man. Awesome. Good stuff. You're always gonna. You're always gonna. Yep. Yeah, and hmm yep, yep, and it's always gonna be like that, Sam. Though you got to understand when you do something so long and then come off of it, it's not gonna be nothing's easy. I've been now 20 years, bro. No drugs. You know what I mean? And I I would be a liar to sit here and tell you like, oh, I don't have dreams, I don't have cravings, I don't. I'd be a liar to tell you that. You know what I mean? But what I have learned in the 20 years is everything is based off of foundations, bro. No matter what it is, alcohol, cocaine, drugs, heroin, PCP, whatever drug of choice or all of them, they all have the same ingredients. And the number one of the big things is you gotta want to stop. That's one of the huge things. Now, we've all encountered trauma. We've all encountered big losses, and some people haven't. Some people just choose to take that route and they never come back. You know what I mean? Um, but as long as we keep putting situations like yourself, where you're putting your wife at the forefront of your situation, of your addiction and stuff like that, it'll never work. It'll never work as long as you have that excuse. And the way, if you watch any of these other videos, the way I explain it to people is this: is as long as you always have something on the back burner. Well, if this shit don't work out for me, I'm gonna do this. As long as you have something on the back burner, you're always gonna take the back burner. So what you need to do this is you have your son, your kids, your grandbabies in your life, and you need to live for that, because this is the reality of it. And just from listening to your story right now and getting to know you here, I realize at the end of the day, your wife wouldn't want this for you. Do you get what I'm saying? So, I think you need to use that as part of your foundation because as just as you just said at the end right now, she told you you can be better. You can be better. You know the type of man you are, and your children know the type of man you can be and the man you're becoming again. So you need to build that and use that as a foundation. These kids, they the world isn't getting any easier, bro. You know what I'm saying? And they need their dad. They need their grandfather. You know what I'm saying? And you need to teach them the right ways. And as long as you're not doing the right shit, you ain't gonna be able to teach them the right thing. You know what I'm saying? And the minute you think that people aren't watching you to learn from you, you're mistaken, bro. You know what I mean? And you can do it. You got the control to do it. You have the answers. You are an alcoholic. You are an addict. At the end of the day, you know what I mean. There's no little bit for you. My brother just told me a good thing the other day. He was telling me about this invisible line with people, and I really wanted to start using that in these stories because it's true. Once you cross this invisible line to where you think, you're having these drinks and or you're, drugs definitely that's not a that's just a given, but when it comes to alcohol, it's definitely like that. You get to the point where, oh, I just want to have a few drinks, and then now you're having a few drinks and you're drinking every day, and it's a drink after work, and it's like you always have to have a drink for something. So when we do that, we're right back into the same addiction. You know what I mean? So, you got to want this for you, Sam. At the end of the day, that's what's most important. Mm. Nope. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. If not in front of there, be honest. But you do. Yep. And let that be your story though, Sammy, is what I'm saying. Let that be your story. That you know what I'm saying. Don't don't sit here and sit back and beat yourself up for what you don't look back in the mirror, bro. You know what I mean? Take the rearview mirror off. You're going forward, bro. Don't worry about the past. What you did behind you is behind you for a reason. It's behind you. You know what I mean? What you need to do is be Sam today. You know what I mean? You got you for you and these children and your grandchildren, you have a reason to live. It'd be different if we are sitting here telling the story of, I know, bro. I lost my mother, I lost my brother. You know what I mean? I had a lot of tragedy in my life. Hitting the streets, I've been doing that stuff since I was 13. In and out of jail, in and out of prison. I could come up with a million excuses why I could have stayed getting high and doing that. you know um when I got so clean and sober, I had a different route. I had a break. You didn't have no breaks. I went to prison. You know what I mean? So you didn't have that break, and that's why I asked if you had any jail time, because a lot of times people go to jail and sometimes that's what does it for them. You know what I mean? But yeah. Yep. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And there, there's a saying for that too, man, in recovery though. And the saying is like this: you can't keep what you have if you're not giving it away, bro. That's the truth behind it. I promise you that. I've lived by that for years, dude. You know, just remember that you can't keep what you have if you're not giving it away. And for you to keep it all to yourself would be selfish, is what I say. You know. And see, and what you don't realize either, Sam, is those kind of things when we think we're helping somebody else, which we are, but at that point in our lives, what we really need is that moment. Because when we're helping somebody else, in reality, we're really helping ourselves. You know what I mean? When you talk about it like this interview, you talk about stuff and you get it. You open those core issues of what's going on in Sam's life or in Mark's life or whoever's life, and you're able to speak about it rather than bottle that stuff up, because that's when it's just it's like a it's like a firecracker ready to go off. You know what I mean? Any given moment when you're just bottling up, oh, let me help you, and you're trying to help everybody else, and you're not dealing with your own with Sam's issues, but helping somebody else and showing them, hey, I can't tell you. I like when I always do this. I always tell people I can't tell you what works perfectly, but I can tell you what don't work. You know what I mean? I definitely can tell you that. You know. Yep. Yeah. 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 Yep. That's exactly the best way to look at it. Yep. Exactly, man. Yep. So when is your clean day? I mean your sobriety date. Yep, March, April, May, June, July. Somewhere in July is what I'm thinking. Okay. Let- Okay, so let's do this. If you don't mind, what I would like to do with you, man, is reach back out to you around July, the end of July, if that's cool with you. And let's do it like a 1 year sobriety check-in. You know what I'm saying? And let's just because I have another gentleman on here too. He has like 4 months, 4 or 5 months when I did his interview, which was about a month ago. And I told him the same thing. We're going to do a checkup on him. And the cool part about it, man, is people are you're going to get thousands of people to watch this video, bro. And I think people that are in recovery love to see people succeed, bro. So what I want to do is I'm going to come back to you and let's let the people know where you're at and how you're living, and how we'll talk more about like maybe your job, how work's going, stuff like that. Talk about this relationship a little deeper with your kids, and then we'll just throw it on the two-part series with how you're doing, and we'll go there from there. That way it gives you a little bit of accountability too, to hold you together, man. You got other people, not just the people around you, but these people that are going to be watching these videos that are praying for you and hoping that everything goes good, and that you keep your head up, man. You're worth it's worth it for you. I think you should. Oh, it's going to help people, man. just know that you are. I always tell everybody that does these interviews, man, that your video is going to change, even if it was to change, like you said, one life. You know what I mean? There's somebody out there that is going through the same thing, just like you said when you met your sponsor. You know, you turn around and you talk to him, and he lost his wife. You know what I mean? And so there's somebody out there. You know, you never thought you would ever meet a woman that has lost somebody, and she lost him. You know, I remember when that happened. You know what I mean? Um, it was very devastating. That's around the time I met her is when that happened. We went. You know, she's a good person. She's a good person, and she got her head on her shoulders, man, and she got a big heart. I've always had a good place for her in my heart for her, man. She's good people. Um, the thing you want to remember, Sam, is what I want to leave you with is always remember, man, there's people to reach out to. You're not the only one in this. Whether you go into a meeting, you can always reach out to me. You can always reach out to anybody on my page. Everybody's on there that's been through something. You know what I'm saying? Anytime of the night you want to talk, man, we're here for you. I'm here for you. um, you want you know you're We have so many resources now, man, that since I've opened this page, I've only been running this page for about 2 years now, but I'm 2 years, 2 months, and we got so many things, counselors, people that you can reach out to talk to, man. So, you know, so yeah, yeah, that could be the way for you, you know. All right, Sam. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up, brother. Um, I'll reach out to you. I really appreciate you doing this interview. I will stay in touch with you. Yeah, yeah, yep. I wanted to hear this story, and it's good, man. This is good. I'm very proud of you. That where you're at in your recovery and your sobriety, and I wish you all the luck. And like I said, man, you go through anything, I'm here. You got my number. Reach out. I'll be here for you. Before you make any dumb decisions, call me, man. I've been through a lot too. And then when you get some downtime and you're sitting at home doing nothing, go on that YouTube, man, and watch some of these videos, man, and you'll see some of this stuff. And go on there, watch my testimonial video. Get you a little closer where I've been. I've been through some couple of things too. So, yep, yep. All right, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, man. All right, brother.